Okay, so let's talk about the car a little bit. So kind of what's happened. So this car is actually going to be out of my garage from Monday through Friday of the entirety of next week. So it's going to be out for paint protection film and ceramic coat, as well as paint correction, obviously, as part of that process. So I'm not going to have this here. They're actually going to give me a Kia Soul as a loaner car. So that's going to be interesting, driving that box around basically for most of next week. But just a heads up, this is going to be out of my garage, so I'm not really going to make any content on it. Figure let's do kind of just update and kind of what's changed. I didn't put the mud guards on yet, and I figured, as part of the paint protection film and ceramic coat process, they're going to clean the car anyway, so I'm going to just wait until that's done and put the mud guards on right after that. Hopefully it isn't raining, it doesn't get too dirty back there. Other stuff with the car though, so car's gotten tinted and actually got the red trim on the front, on the sides, front, and the rear of the car all blacked out, so you can kind of see what's going on over there. So I got a 50% tint. This is a 3M ceramic IR, so it's a little bit of a pricey tint, but it should reject a lot more of that UV, a lot of that heat, which is kind of a nice tenet of that, especially with the summer kind of coming. It's going to be really bright. So this is a 50% tint throughout, so it's on the sides and also on the rear glass over here. So pretty happy with that. For a nice sort of ceramic tint, I expect to pay somewhere on the order of like 400, 500 bucks to get that done for 5 windows. You can see at the front, I have a Covercraft. This is their UV S100. It's a custom one for the Elantra, so it's a normal Elantra one. So I just kind of threw it on there so you could take a look at it. There's no point in doing that here because of we're indoors, but I figured I'd throw it up there so you can see what that kind of looks like. So pretty happy with it. It's a really nice sunshade, and you use your normal sunshade to kind of prop it up on the inside. It's a perfect fit, and it's really handy. Actually, the way I usually store that is this entire thing kind of rolls up into one sort of panel over here, and I actually have just enough room. I usually just keep it in this kind of channel in there, basically, and it fits perfect right there. So I just had that chilling most of the time. Let's talk about the trim wrap a little bit. So I've got the red trim wrapped out on the side skirts, as well as the front of the vehicle over here. So the front of the vehicle wrapped out, and the rear of the vehicle over here, this little portion, it's hard to see even because it's been wrapped. The entire thing has been also blacked out over there. So I'm kind of weird in that I like sleeper cars, to be honest. I don't like to be super flauncy. It's kind of why I got the black over the performance blue, honestly, because I wanted to be able to tone this down to the point where if you look at it, pretty much looks kind of like a normal Elantra, unless you do a double take on it. You know what you're looking for, and you see the bigger brakes, bigger caliper, that side skirt even being there in the first place, the splitter, bigger exhaust tips, and you'll hear it kind of coming down the path, and it'll also pull harder than an Elantra, obviously. So I kind of dig that kind of view of things where I don't like to be super flamboyant about things unless I choose to. So obviously you have this button on the steering wheel where you can choose to go super loud or you can tone it down a little bit. So it's kind of just how I like to ride, basically. So yeah, for the trim wrap, I paid about $170 to get that done. So happy with the price. The trim wrap isn't absolutely perfect yet. The guy who did it actually did something interesting over here. Kind of said that be a lot of work to really fully wrap the end here, because you would really basically need to kind of perfectly blend the vinyl wrap, pull it in here, and then somehow have you need a custom piece to inset in there, and it'd be really hard to make that perfect. So this is what we kind of end up settling on, to be honest. This isn't even completely dead on perfect. If you get really close, the edges are pretty darn on point, but for the price, I'm pretty happy with it. I wanted to get that done, obviously, before we actually went and ceramic coated the car. So if they elected to, they could coat the vinyl as well. So yeah, so that's kind of the current state of the car. I'm probably just going to leave it at the way it is, as is. Some people have mentioned it'd be cool if we tinted the headlights as well. I've been thinking about that. For me personally, this is to the point where the car looks normal, and that's kind of how I'm going to keep it for now. And after this thing gets ceramic coat, I think I'm pretty much happy with it at that point. I might put a TurboTech upper engine mount in there. As far as I know, this is pretty much the same as the Veloster, so we might throw that in there just to stiffen things up a little bit. I heard that does actually also help with MVH, ironically enough, after you change out the lower mount. So I might consider that. But yeah, so again, this car is going to go out for a ceramic coat and paint protection film. So I thought this would be a good opportunity to kind of talk about pros and cons. What are things to look for when you're looking for a detailer to do those kinds of things? What did we go into in terms of cost? Because I don't have a decent amount of research. Maybe you guys are curious enough, or not really curious. You guys seem to like listening to me ramble about these things. So I figured let's just ramble a little bit about that. So I'm going to walk around so you're not just staring at one portion of the car all at the same time, basically. So what paint protection film kind of entails is it's going to be, it's the same thing as like clear bra. I don't have it on the car, obviously, but it'd be a film that you would lay over the actual vehicle. And the whole point of it is it's going to absorb any sort of like pebble, like a rock, any sort of like road debris, like a screw or something like flying at the car. And it is a self-healing film. It should be, at least, where it'll take that impact and either it'll self-heal on the spot if it was really tiny, or if it took a bigger impact with heat, like the sun, for example, of hitting it, it will kind of just self-heal and stretch back out, and it will look like nothing ever happened. So paint protection film is awesome, and definitely something I think that's a good thing to do in general for most vehicles. It makes sense, especially with Hyundais. I know the clear coat on Hyundais is known to be a little bit on the weak side, especially with things getting dented. So PPF is a good choice. You could pay a lot of money for PPF. You could pay a little money for PPF. So what are the differences between that? So a couple of things to kind of pay attention to is one, with paint protection film, there are clear bras out there that are quick to put on. And what you'll usually see with those is they might not even cover the entire hood. They're probably just going to cover maybe just this portion over here. You'll see like a seam, and that offers good protection since this area is going to see the brunt of the stuff getting hit from the road. One thing to kind of consider with those clear bras that don't completely like wrap up, basically, they're just kind of cookie cutter stencils. Stencil cut ones are if they end up with a line over here at the top of the hood. Kind of bear in mind that line, that seam, is going to accumulate dirt, and that will be the point where like a lot of grime is going to kind of accumulate on the car. So usually if you can spend the money for a good really detailed sort of wrap job with that film, what they'll usually try to do is they're not going to end up with a seam over here. They're going to try to make it seamless. So the way you achieve a seamless paint protection film job that jack up the price a lot is you're going to try to go and wrap entire panels, basically. So this entire hood would be like one entire gigantic piece of paint protection film. And what they're going to try to do really is they're going to try to wrap around the edges over there. So it's easy to do for the hood because you can pop the entire hood up and you can really cover around the edges. You get a really seamless paint protection film application. So those are really nice because one, you're not going to get a seam that's going to build up dirt. Two, if you ever run this through like an auto car wash, or if you pressure wash the car, there isn't really going to be as much of a seam where you can accidentally pick up and undo the paint protection film. So it's really nice for that. And also it just looks better. So kind of things to consider on that aspect. So it's kind of the difference between buying like a clear bra off Amazon versus having an actual detailer pretty much not just apply a stencil, but maybe even adjust a stencil that they have and precisely cut out a piece of film just for your car. So that's kind of that difference, and why a PPF job could cost $1,000 or more in terms of just getting all the labor, not just application, but also all the cutting, all the labor to actually get it applied and make it seamless, versus maybe like a couple $100 off Amazon for just a basic clear bra. So that's kind of your difference over there. I'm going to be getting a frontal PPF done. So it's going to end basically right here. So there will be a little bit of a seam there that I'm going to need to pay attention to. We're going to take this entire panel, the hood, probably this panel over here at the front with the emblem cover, likely. We'll discuss that. Possibly some of the paint over here. Probably not a lot of plastic because it's just plastic. They're going to really try to protect the paint, and obviously the fender on the other side. Wheel well on the other side, basically. So that's what I'm going to get done to this car. Again, it's full seamless application, so it's going to be a little bit on the pricey side. They're applying, what is that, Aztec Dino Shield to this thing, so which is a fairly high-end film. So the quote for running that high end of a film with seamless application runs about $1,700, $1,800, honestly. I'm also getting a little bit of film to apply to the, rocker panels on the right side. as well as right behind here on the rear wheel well, because that's typically where if a rocket's picked up from the front, it's usually going to get flung and hit those areas. So that's also going to get filmed out. So just some insight on that. Other things about that you could do with film is you could look at more intense things like a full body wrap that would be ideal. They're very expensive to do because if you really want to get them done right, which is a seamless application, full body wrap, those take a lot of time to do because you can the hood, the front's pretty straightforward because you just lift the hood. You can usually get access to all the seams you need. To do something like a door, you can move the door out and you might be able to work with that. What is it? Top of the car, that might be worked around. There are some parts of the car where, depending on the geometry of how it's laid out, they might need to start disassembling the car, basically. And it's a little bit intense whenever you see like really expensive cars go through full body wraps. It makes sense for those cars because a full body wrap is probably the best way to protect your paint. They're going to run into at minimum like the $8,000, $10,000 range, which doesn't make sense for this car, which is why I'm just getting the front. But just kind of just throwing that out as one thing that people will do with film basically is full body wraps because they offer the best possible protection for the entire car. One thing that paint protection film offers that's really convenient, why people do that, unlike Porsches, like really high-end Audis, is because paint protection film basically swirl mark proofs the car. You really aren't going to be it's kind of hard to introduce like a swirl mark onto paint protection film, whereas with paint, obviously that's a possibility. Technically with ceramic coat even that's a possibility, but PPF itself will kind of reject those. If you put a swirl mark onto PPF, it just self-heals over time, which is really nice. So for like $100,000 car, like a freaking 911, like a GT3 or something, it would make sense to PPF the entire vehicle because even though it's going to cost most likely 10 grand, 15 grand, that's only like 10% of the value of the vehicle. For this, it makes no sense because that would be a third of the price of the vehicle. But kind of throwing that out there, why you'll see PPF range between ludicrously expensive ranges and also really cheap, to like even just clear bras you can get online, basically. So kind of just throwing that out there, showing at least what I've done research on. The car's also going to get ceramic coated. So what's the pros and cons of ceramic coating, at least from what I've understood? So there are definitely scenarios where ceramic coat just, I would say, doesn't make sense, honestly, for you to look into. And the thing is, a lot of dealers are going to price in ceramic coat and PPF as part of the package. I usually say I wouldn't get it from a dealer, to be completely honest. And here's kind of why. So the point really of like a ceramic coat is to, in my opinion, make the car easier to hand wash. That's really where it's going to pay off, honestly, because it'll really reject a lot of that dirt, that grime, possibly some brake dust even, and really make it easy for you to hand wash all that stuff off and really maintain the paint. The real point of getting a good ceramic coat job done is not just the coat, but you're going to also get a really good, ideally a good paint correction job first. So that means polishing out the car and eliminating all the swirl marks, all the imperfections that are going to inhibit how glossy, how shiny the car can actually get. You want to correct all that out, put a really nice hard ceramic coating over it to protect that perfect paint finish. So if you're a stickler for paint, ceramic coat's amazing because you're going to perfect the paint first, literally make the paint perfect, coat the car, and then you're going to maintain the ceramic coat in a way that doesn't scratch the ceramic coat. It's going to be harder to scratch the ceramic coat than the paint through normal washing. So it makes a lot of sense if you spend like an hour or two weekly to maintain the paint on your vehicle, which is what I do. Now, if you don't have that much time, or if you're not a stickler for perfect paint, to be completely honest, I don't think it's worth it, to be completely honest. If you're just the kind where you're just going to run the car through an auto car wash every month, I don't think paint protection, what is it? Not paint protection film, ceramic coating is honestly worth it for you, because the auto car wash is going to it will damage the ceramic coat a little bit. It's going to induce swirl marks into the ceramic coat, and it's kind of moot why you would run ceramic coat at that point, because kind of just marring the ceramic coat and that you're never really getting the shiniest possible car you could from that. At that point, paying $500,000, $2 grand for ceramic coat doesn't make sense in my mind. If you maintain the paint on your car, ceramic coat is really useful for that. But if you're just going to run the car to like an auto car wash, that's a hard sell in my mind. If you have a touchless car wash, that might work, honestly, because a touchless car wash isn't going to damage ceramic coat, isn't going to leave swirls into it, and it'll work with it pretty nicely. So that might not be a bad idea. But so what am I getting done to this car specifically? I'm getting C-Quartz Finest done to this vehicle, as well as C-Quartz Deluxe done to the wheels. So Finest C-Quartz is obviously one brand of ceramic coat. There's many brands out there. There's G-Technic, there's Ceramic Pro, and the Deluxe is a specific C-Quartz coating they will do for the wheels to reject some of that brake dust. So what C-Quartz Finest is, what I like about it is, I mean, at least you do have to be actually certified to be able to even buy like the finest level. They have two other levels. There's like Pro and there's UK. To actually apply like top level C-Quartz, you actually have to be certified from it. So they have their own kind of little inner community of detailers that kind of all respect, kind of hone each other's trade, which is kind of neat. So how much does that sort of deal cost? So so ceramic coat can cost, I've seen it go as little as like $400 for like ceramic coat job, to thousands of dollars, to $1,000, $1,700, $2,000 for a ceramic coat job. What's the difference there? If you're going to look into that, so you can buy Ceramic Pro, you can buy C-Quartz UK on your own. Do your own car, do your own polishing, and then coat the car yourself. That's perfectly viable. That's the cheapest solution out here. If you're gonna do it to a shop could definitely do it for maybe $400, $500. So what you're kind of paying for when you get up to the higher level $2,000 applications is paint correction. So you can coat a car by just washing the car really in a detailed manner and then coating right after. Problem with that is if there's any imperfections in the paint, there's any swirl marks, there's any like what's it? We have like, it's not really very intense orange peel, but what we can kind of see is, what is it? The line over here of that straight sort of CFL light, that really should be completely straight. It's not perfectly straight, and the reason why is not just some of the dirt, but maybe like the clear wasn't sprayed perfect on there. The really expensive what is it? Ceramic coat jobs ideally will be correcting out stuff like that, really taking a polisher to the car and making sure like the clear coat is perfectly level, everything is mirror-like in terms of finish. So when you're paying for, ideally, those more expensive ceramic coatings, you're paying for a really good polish job, really a lot of attention paid to the paint quality. If you're paying for like a $400, $500 job, I wouldn't expect them to spend as much time on a full-on, like, massive, really in-depth paint correction process. So sort of like food for thought in that aspect. You can go cheap, you can go expensive. You do kind of get what you pay for. Definitely just kind of vet your detailer in my as well, and kind of vet, like, depending on how much you're charging, are you really getting your money's worth? With a C-Quartz Finest dealer, you kind of are, because you have to be certified to even do that in the first place. I think there actually is a risk of getting booted out if you're not maintaining standard, because obviously you're representing the brand at that point. So kind of just verify, really verify, but like look at reviews, look what people are saying about that detailer. Are you really getting your money's worth if you're paying like over $700 for a ceramic coat? For under $700, that's fine. Just kind of obviously bear in mind, I mean, they're probably just going to wash the car and then just coat the car. So be that as it will. If that suits your kind of use case, more power to you, to be honest. I'm definitely to the type where I'm kind of OCD. If I see something that's wrong, it's going to bother me. So I'm kind of going into full Monty on this guy with I think the ceramic coat job, and this is $1,700 on top of the PPF. So it is a bit pricey. It's about the 10th of the price of the car to get the PPF and the ceramic coat, but that's worth it to me since I'm going to be maintaining and detailing the car myself. Anyway, so you just kind of figure out like where are your boundaries on this. Do you really care about the paint that much? Paint protection film, I think unanimously, if you can get it, that's nice because it'll just deflect off a lot of stuff. For like ceramic coat, it's really like, if you like your paint quality, you're a real stickler for that. It makes sense. If you're not, I think it's a bit of a hard sell, honestly. I don't think it's worth it. So, yeah, so excited for that process. The car is super dirty right now, so I'm not actually even going to wash it this weekend because I'm just going to do that anyways during the actual process. So, when they actually going to coat the thing. So I'm just going to let them do it, and then we'll put on the Rally Armors right after. So if anyone's kind of wondering, like, why does it take like 5 days to do this whole process? So basically the process that they use is they're going to go and wash the entire car off. They have like one major wash bay over there, and maybe like two. I'm not completely sure even about their shop. Wash the entire car first, get it fully clean. It's maybe going to be like half a day. Gonna debolt the wheels, pull the wheels off, fully clean the wheels off the inside and out. And then they're going to go to a polish stage, and then they have a separate room with, I think, 6 lifts. They can accommodate 6 cars, and they go and polish the entire vehicle, paint correction, and clean up everything about the paint, because even the paint coming from the factory isn't perfect. You're seeing like a little bit of imperfections in how the lights look right now on there. There's obviously a little bit of swirl marks put on there from the dealer running this through an auto car wash already. Not going to hold them to that. That's not that hard to paint correct out if it's only gone through once. So you're going to paint correct the entire car, move it out of that bay after the paint's perfect, and then get it onto their coating bay. I think their coating bay is insane. They have, I think, at least 12 lifts in there because they run cars in and out. They have a pretty impressive operation. The detail that I'm going to get it on a lift, unbolt the wheels, coat the entire car. Not coat the entire car. They're gonna lay paint protection film on the front. I know they have templates that they'll use for cars themselves. They think they have a resource for that. They're usually gonna go and dry run the template, actually check for fit, check for overlap, adjust the template as needed, actually cut out the film, lay the film on there, make sure everything's flush, completely mate the film with the actual car. So that's going to be another day in itself. So, I mean, washing is kind of a half day. Polishing is likely a half day, if not a full day, maybe 1.5 days, depending on how bad it is. Film is going to take another day, most likely, maybe half a day. That's probably going to take a full day because they're going to be adjusting templates all over the place. So we're maybe like 3 to 4 days kind of in now. And the last day is just going to be coating the car, which isn't that bad, to be completely honest. It's just after assuming everything's been perfect up to this point, like the paint's good, we got the film. That's just kind of running over the entire car with an applicator sponge or something similar to go and actually coat the entire vehicle. Just make sure you don't apply too much in any one location, because you'll see that it'll appear as a dark spot basically. So to coat the entire car, the wheels will be already demounted by that point, and they'll be coating the wheels as well. And I know for Sequart's Finest on the car itself, not the wheels, they're playing Deluxe on the wheels, which can cure itself, I think, at room temperature. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. Sequart's Finest is a little bit weird of a ceramic coat because that actually requires a heat lamp to cure. It does require an infrared cure. It cures way too slow compared to other ceramic products at room temperature, basically. So that's kind of an interesting facet of it. It cures a little bit harder and it lasts a little bit longer. So after they coat the entire car, put it on a heat lamp, mount the wheels back on, and then that's pretty much the entire process. That's why that entire thing will take like a week to do because of how much custom stuff they're really doing with the custom PPF, as well as like really just paint correcting the entire car. We skipped all that and we just used like an Amazon template film, and then we didn't paint correct the car. You could probably do it in a day, to be completely honest. You just wash the car, stick it on, coat the car, and we're good. It's a room temperature cure with like commercial off-the-shelf Ceramic Pro or Sequart's UK. You could do that. But the full sort of Monty process where you paint correct and then you really line up the PPF and then you do an IR cure with Sequart's Finest is going to take much longer. That's kind of what you're paying for with those sort of higher priced ceramic jobs. Assuming your detailer is good, they could just be charging you out the wazoo because you don't realize you know better. So definitely just vet your detailers before they do this. But yeah, hopefully that was some food for thought, things to like look at or research or Google. Maybe I gave you some keywords to sort of look at. But yeah, that's kind of where I'm at with the car right now. I'm probably gonna not make content for like a week because obviously I'm not gonna do too much to this car. Visit this entire weekend. Hopefully the car is gonna come back super shiny. So I'm looking forward to seeing how that looks like. But yeah, appreciate everyone still watching the videos. Hearing me ramble, talk about things. I got a face cam right now. I want a face cam. I got a GoPro and a hat mount. So I could maybe stick in like 1 or 2 driving videos before the weekend. I'll see if I can get that up. But yeah, I'm trying to think, am I missing anything so far? The car's definitely gotten louder. I feel like after the 1,000-mile mark, I don't know if I've mentioned that or not. Might just be the catalytic converter breaking in. It could be the ECU unlocking past the mileage limit, because I know some OEMs will kind of under the hood, they will do that sometimes to deal with some noise regulations. So could be any number of things, but I feel like the car is definitely getting louder, which isn't a bad thing. But gas prices aren't fun. I'm pretty sure this thing more or less has like an 11-gallon tank. Don't quote me on that, but it feels like that sometimes. So 11-gallon tank, 27 miles per gallon. Kind of hurts, especially with premium gas. So kind of feeling the burn on that right now. Granted, I signed up for that. Buying the car, I'm not really going to complain, but I'm starting to feel the heat on that recently for sure. But yeah, hopefully this is kind of insightful. Yeah, leave a comment as always if you have any questions on that.